Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady, Dori, Belle, Lady, MeeLing, America. I've been known by a few names. So I'm going to show you real quick. Get up close. See these nails? See the colors of these nails? See the shinies, specifically on these two, right? So they were originally silver. When they, you know, the same color as the three of these. Okay, so these four were originally just as silver. I mean, even this portion. Now, I did get a haircut. I did dye my hair. But the change in color was before dyeing my hair. So, I had written about in the big book in regards to finding a silver lining by Susan MeeLing, not finding the silver lining by Susan MeeLing, about what I've been able to do in certain regards. So like stones, I have this tendency to change their colors. It's something that I've done for many years. I've discussed in regards to my gardening, how I got gladioli to grow in San Antonio soil, which those who understand soil content, it does not have the correct combination, technicality, small one, for them to grow. They won't take root because of the content needed. And so I wanted gladioli to grow. I made it happen. And the gladioli bulbs that I had ordered, they were single blooming, meaning single petals, and they were singular colors. So the standard colors for gladioli. Well, I let some of them be standard colors. And then I felt like changing some of them as I planted them. So instead of just orange or red or white and yellow, which are the standard colors for gladioli, I decided that I wanted buy and try colors in certain ones, and not just the entire stalk. I mean, like individual flowers of the same stalk being try and buy colors. Or in other ones, I decided I wanted the blooms to be white with red tips, or red with white tips. Or I decided, depending on, because I had thousands of bulbs that I ordered. So it was one of those, okay, so this one, I want it to be yellow with orange tips and then streaks in the center. While another one, you know, whether it was the whole stalk or just one or two. And then there were the gladioli that I had wanted to essentially have multiple blooms. So instead of the singular petals, I had multiple blooms per flower. And the normal that you can find is up to like, I think it's 3 or 4 petals per flower, meaning the actual flower individually having multiple petals. And so I decided I wanted to change that. I wanted to have like 5 or 6 for an entire stalk, and then still keep that flat stereotype of a gladioli flower, or gladiolus, technically. Gladiolus is the Latin name, but gladioli is the plural of that Latin name. And so, because it's not gladioluses, it's gladioli, and it's not I-E, it's just I. That's how that goes, for those who don't know about that. So, and I had done that with my tulips that I got to grow in the backyard. I did that with the iris that I got to grow in the backyard. I had gotten, as I've discussed in prior videos, or just one I think right now, as far as like my gardening and stuff, I had ordered certain rose bushes, and I decided I wanted to change the color of certain ones on the exact same bush. So I'd walk by and just, I want that one to be that color. And as an example, I did show, I think I twittered a picture of one or something. I think it might have been Periscope or whatever. I did something where I'd shown, look, all the rest of the roses on this bush are just one color, and I made this one pink because I wanted to. And, you know, what are you going to do? Tell me I can't change the color of a plant after I do it? It's a little late. So, just saying, an irony. I don't like being late, so trying to say don't do it is a little late because I already did it. And so, I am the way I am. And I've been doing that for years. I mean, my biological father went to the School of Bole. And so he had his own jewelry business. And some of the parishioners at the church who would say, hey, I need you to fix this watch or whatever, I need you to fix this da-da-da, so on and so forth, you know, they'd always get it in better condition. Not just because he fixed it, but because if there was a stone in it that I was like, can I? Sure, I know I'll get an extra tip, that works. And so, you know, some of those diamond rings, just saying. So, in reference to after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, similarly to prior to my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, I had not actually had my own jewelry, like, you know, sort of stuff. I had been given some, like I had a jade necklace, it was a heart, and it was on a gold chain. My biological sister has it now. That was my confirmation necklace. But I couldn't really wear it because it felt weird to have a necklace on. I'm very, like, I've always been really sensitive about things around my neck. I'm sure it's understood at this point why I feel a little weird. Kind of feels like I'm being choked, and I'm not into that. So I have that thing. So it's a personal preference. I do like necklaces, but I'm really particular on them. I have had a couple of chokers. Ironically, I could wear chokers-ish. However, it had to be worn a specific way. I could not wear most chokers. So I had one choker. It was a black fabric that I had gotten from, I think it was Atlantis Discovered, because of the way the stones were in the flower. And I had worn it on one side. Originally, I'd put it right here, and I was like, no, it needs to go on the side, because no, it just didn't sit right there for me. And so I put it on the right side of my neck. And so, but other than that, I had been given a white gold. It was technically supposed to be a bracelet, but as a child and teenager, I could actually wear it as an anklet. I think my biological sister has that one as well. Nonetheless, it's about it's less than a centimeter thick, but white gold. And it's a solid sort of braiding, but not an actual braid. Nonetheless, I didn't get to keep that. My biological mother decided she wanted to give that to her instead of letting me have my actual stuff. Kind of like the box that had the two-tone Asian carvings, the exterior of the top and then the sides is a darker wood, and then the internal part of the wood is a lighter wood, and it's a lacquer finish with a balance cross as the closing clasp. And then when you open it, there's a certain fragrance that comes out of that. That's mine. That's what was given to me by my great-grandfather. However, Anna, my biological mother, decided that after I joined the Army for the United States of America's Armed Forces, that somehow all of a sudden meant that that was Patricia's. Same thing with my bedroom. Now, and I know that might come across as bitter sounding. In certain ways, yes. In other ways, no. It was more along the lines of what was mine is mine. And so that particular box is mine. My great-grandfather gave that to me. That was my last gift from him before he died. And so, you know, I'm quite annoyed by the fact that my biological sister was given that. Along with several other things that were mine, that were never hers and never intended to be hers. And so certain things, like for example, if certain things occurred because Patricia was given what was mine, you could hypothetically say that was my great-grandfather and great-grandmother warning my biological mother to not do that. And if certain things continued because my biological sister kept it, then that's another set of warnings. Hypothetically, if you believe in certain things. And so, just saying, that sort of stuff will calm down if I get what's mine. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. It really is. So, in regards to after my head injury, I had purchased a honey amber ring. And it was set in silver, and it was a light honey amber. Well, I put it on, and within a day it turned black, and I was like, ugh, it's too porous. I can't have something that porous. I forgot, because it's after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, so I can only have certain types of gemstones as mine. I had an amethyst ring, and the amethyst stone turned pink instead of remaining the dark amethyst color. I had been given a tanzanite ring, and it was a marquee cut set in white gold, and the tanzanite turned into a royal purple instead of just at the tips. Like the whole thing just became pure royal purple. In regards to, and that was pre-head injury, other jewelry I've had that it's very similar in regards to the plants. So although it's a little bit different, so if I focus on it, yeah, I can change it, no problem. Though if I simply wear it, I don't have to actually focus on it because I'm wearing it or whatever. And so in regards to my tattoos, when I've gone out and been in certain locations, if you thought you saw certain parts of my tattoos change color, yeah, you did. Same thing with my hair. And it could be within less than a 5-10 minute time frame. Yeah, I've had that happen a bunch of times. Whatchamacallit, it's one of those, I've dealt with it for so many years that it's one of those, oh yeah, that happens. It does, so, what can I say? So I also have certain issues with certain things in regards to, so I purchased an amethyst chip bracelet, and I put it on, in the store that I bought it at in San Antonio, and literally right after paying for, I think it was called Guadalajara, I had turned to the people that were with me in the store and I said, look what I bought. And then the chip bracelet went off. Literally, it like I pointed to it and then it was off of my wrist because the little chips just went every which way. And I was like, well, I don't get a refund on that one now, do I? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, no. I was like, yeah, well, that was before the tattoos. So, which is obviously before scuba diving. Obviously. So, yeah. So I had ordered a blue diamond, okay? And it showed up and it was a smaller weight than it was supposed to be. And I was like, okay, well, I can't change that. And no, like I ordered a half carat. That is like a fourth of a carat. No. Return that. I mean, I did make it a prettier blue. I did change the color there. Yes, I did. However, well, that was okay. Smaller than what it was supposed to be. And then, irony, fairy sized and stuff. And so, I've done that. It's one of those, I didn't really think it was a big deal. It was just one of those, well, it happens. I've done that for a while. And so there were people I've known over the years that were like, yeah, well, what's the big deal? Why can't you wear certain jewelry? Well, it's not just because, I was raised by who I was raised by, and not just because I was exposed to that. It's just my genetic makeup as well. Like, it's one of those, like, I don't know how to put it. I've just done it for so long. And, I can focus, yes, and change it to different things as I want, as far as the gemstones, plants, and stuff like that. However, there are times when I don't necessarily focus on that. So, my now dead ex-husband had given me permission to get an actual engagement ring, which would be in reference to that blue diamond. And so I was like, okay, then I had looked up and I found a black teardrop. It was a black diamond, teardrop cut with 2 white diamonds on each side, set in white gold. It's like, ooh, that is striking. I like that. That's pretty. The clarity, color, I can fix that. That's not a problem. And so, it showed up in the mail, and it was for those who know what black diamonds traditionally look like. They're kind of a little bit dull in certain ways if it's not cut a certain way. To get that color without the enhancement of the stone, you have to cut it very, very specific. It is not like most other diamonds. And so I had done what I had done, and within like 2-3 days, you would have thought that I mean, it was enhanced in a different way, nonetheless. So yeah, I had done that, and then there was I had ordered a sapphire blue heart ring set in white gold, and I had my son's name and birthday on one side, and my daughter's name and her birthday on the other side. And I worn that. It's in a few of my modeling pictures. Mother's ring, or mom's ring or whatever. And proud mom, and so but when I got it, the blue was a little different, and I was like, I can fix that. I could change that to the color I want it to be. So, what I've done is what I've done. And then I even ordered a red diamond set in white gold ring. And it had 3 flowers, and then each of the flowers were multiple red diamonds. And it was like, okay. I saw the picture and I was like, yeah, I can fix that. I'll get a really good deal on that, and then I'll fix it so that way, and it'll be permanent. And, unfortunately for me though, it was just a size too big. And I was like, okay, I can only do so much for that. So, I've done that. It's something that I can do. I have fun doing that at times. I do, I have to admit that. Because why not? Who doesn't want a clearer, better cut stone? Nobody is the answer. Nobody wants a less, no, you want a better cut, you want a clearer cut, you want a clearer stone, you want the better color and all that. It's like, I can. And so, I am the way I am. And so, yeah, so a really good example actually is, I was told one day that, where was I? I think it was at a Walmart, and somebody had asked me if this tattoo was brand new. I was like, no. By that time, it was probably about 4 years old, 5 years old. And she just kind of looked at me and she goes, what do you mean? I was like, it's 4 or 5 years old. Why? She goes, that's impossible. I was like, why is it impossible? I know I got this done first and then this one done after in the same year. What do you mean it's impossible? She said, green, is that like a tattoo? I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna wash off. Like, I mean, it's in my flesh, yes. And she goes, was this originally green, meaning the butterfly moon? And I'm like, no, that was blue. It's the same color that, I originally had put in. And she was like, anybody I've ever known who has gotten green ink, it leaves. I'm like, what do you mean it leaves? I guess I'm attention. And she said, no, like, in various people I've known. And I go, well, what do you mean? Do you mean like different genders? And she's like, no, I've known people of like all different ethnic backgrounds, and the different, it just changes. I'm like, no, if anything, my tattoos will fade, but it will always be the original color. And she was like, that's impossible. I'm like, no, it's not. That's just how my skin is. And so that's an example like that you can literally see, because now, so what year was that? It was 2011 that I had gotten these done, and they're still the same. I mean, as far as this part was done in 2009 or 2008. So this was done in 2008. I don't know if you can see it as much because of the way I wanted it done. The apple blossoms with that portion, that was done in 2008 or 2009. This part, the blue ink, this one, and then the one that you can't see underneath here, unless you have a black light, those, and then the white one on the back of my neck, those were done in 2007. This one was done in 2009. This one was done originally in 2010 and then finished later in 2010. The ones on my back, the three that essentially make the diamond shape on my back, so like a diamond back, Those were done in 2006. 2006, yes. So this one was done in 2006 as well. And then, let's see. So this is 2007. And so that was done so this portion was done in 2007, and then this was later in 2007. This was done in 2008, towards around the 4th of July. This was done in 2007. That was done in 2007. That was done in 2008. 2009, 2008. This one was done in 2012. That one was done in 2009. And then same thing with that one, the platypus that I have. The stomach tattoo that I have of the ocean, that was done in 2009. And so, yeah, apparently that really shocked that individual. She was like, what do you mean? Like, color tattoos supposedly fade a lot quicker. And I was like, no, not mine. No, I have to keep them. And so I'll have to get them touched up every now and then. But it'll be extremely minimal in comparison to stuff. So like the ones on my back, they don't need to, there's a little bit of the wing on each one that needs a slight little touch up. And it's just a couple of dots. But other than that, yeah, my tattoos don't fade, apparently. I didn't notice because it was just one of those. I thought tattoos were permanent, and so it was explained to me. Yeah, like the colors, they look like they were freshly done. No, they're several years old, and now that it's 2020, yeah. Like when I got these done in the center of my palms, I was actually told that anybody who's gotten tattoos in the center of their palms because of how you use your hands more often, they tend to get out of your skin quicker. And I mean, those are like 15 years old now, right? Is that what the number is? 2006, 2007? So, no, 2007. So 2007, so this is 2020. And so whatever that math is. And so, yeah. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It was just one of those, yeah, well, you know, I can do what I can do, so that is what it is. And so, yeah. I didn't realize that was a big deal until I was essentially told, and even then it was just real quick discussion, and I was like, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. Have a good one. She was really nice. We talked for a little while. But yeah, she really kind of freaked out a little bit. It's like, it's not that big of a deal. At least I didn't think so. So, yeah. But yeah, I didn't realize that was a thing, that they faded or whatever. So yeah, my tattoos are what they are. And it's not like I haven't worn shorts or, as you see, skirt right now, but yeah, and in the daylight too. I mean, when I went and did my Medal of Honor art project, this actually is one of the shirts that I had worn when I was out, so, you know, sunlight and all that. Yeah. That's what it is. So, I mean, you know, that's a big deal, like, bigger deal than I realized, yeah. Okay, I don't really know what to do with that. You know, it just is how it is. And so, yeah. And, you know, so yeah. Quality ink, right? So, in that regard of like the stones and stuff like that, well, I couldn't have my jewelry stay with me. Well, then fine, I'll show you. You can't give away my tattoos. Or mine. Mine only. Period. And end of story. Yeah. That's. And you can't use them without my permission. Actually, I was somewhere, I forget where, and I was at where I was volunteering, and some guy started touching where my platypus tattoo was, and I was like, I don't think so. That's not a good idea. I didn't go and say that. It was just one of those no, and then I walked off, and it's like, yeah, no. You don't get that. No, you don't. You know, don't do that. No. Like, and even when however you want to put it in certain regards, like, you may be in the vicinity of, but just because you think you can, no, I will wipe that away like that. Don't insult me by, no, that is an insult without asking me verbally. That is a massively huge insult. Yeah. No, I may look as, all right, not may, I do look as I do. Do not insult me by trying to be sneaky in that regard. Very much so. Very quickly. Very quickly. And yeah. It's not necessary. Yeah, not that has happened very often. It's just one of those, don't insult me. Because, yeah. No. It's not good. That's not polite. At all. Not only is that not polite, that is attempted theft in other ways. And, I don't believe in that. Well, I know it exists, I just don't believe in stealing, and so, that's very particular. Very, very particular. And, just saying, so like, in regards to my Medal of Honor art project, that's another aspect of that reference. And so, while there were some individuals who may have seen certain things, that doesn't give you permission. You know, like, for example, Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., he had seen certain tattoos and thought what he thought, but incorrectly so. To his detriment. So, for example, those uniforms that legally became mine. Legally. Because I am the only executrix. By technicalities, if he were to hypothetically have stolen those uniforms and later decided to wear them, he also knew I was going to give them to law enforcement because I didn't have a thing. I don't ever want to go to prison. I don't ever want to go to jail. And so, I can't be the only one who doesn't want to do that at all. And so you can call me a square. That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine with that. If that makes me a square, okay, that's fine. Call me a square all you like. So he knew that I was going to take them to law enforcement, that I was going to start, once I had finished certain things, going to start researching who I needed to take them to. Now, conversely, I do realize that had I searched that, most likely I would have had a knock at my door. Nonetheless, you know, my now dead ex-husband, I don't know where he got them from. He told me he was stationed overseas and he had traded. That's all I knew. And so Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., had known that I was going to. He knew, similarly to the Gamma 3, knew that I was going to do certain things with it. And so he did not approve of that. So you can make a hypothetical correlation in regards to the box from my great-grandfather and my biological sister in that regard, and my biological mother. And so, in such, yeah, you really, see, that's why you don't steal. You don't know what's attached to that. And so, just saying, like hypothetically, if there was issues with, there was that twin set of floggers that I had ordered custom made from the Houston individual, if certain things befell upon, hypothetically, if it was Philip Olmsted who took that, that is a problem that is there in regards to certain things that I did not give, but I had to leave in certain regards to, in reference of Patrick Kennedy, because he would not let me have the movers get that stuff. If certain things befell him, well, then I guess I should have been able to get that stuff. In regards to the U-Haul truck of items, and then magically some female felt that she was a good Samaritan to drop off my pictures from my photo albums to the exact scuba dive location that my son was taking junior SEAL courses at. If certain things befell her and who she was associated with in that, well, then there'd be those unintended consequences. Hypothetically, depending on what you believe. And so, in that same sort of way, so, you know, I have no problem sharing and giving stuff, but don't steal. It's a very bad thing. You don't know. Don't want to find out the hard way. Like, for example, that scuba gear. If somebody sold that gear to someone and there were problems, that would be on that individual who did that. I mean, yes, scuba diving is an individual sport and you are responsible for yourself. And you should get your gear checked every now and then. However, there is other aspects involved with that, especially when it comes to my scuba gear and where I landed. And so if some individuals hypothetically thought it would be a good idea, hypothetically, to have that set up, well then, there might be some issues that occurred and befell upon them. I think that's considered theft at that point, to have that done. So, you know, hypothetically. So there's a few examples. Another example in regards to that gardening thing, those gladioli that I had done that with, and that big section of flowers that were taken out of my front yard without my permission. If something happened, then there's an example why you shouldn't steal. Really big example. All you had to do was ask. Like, and then, you know, also I would have allowed the rest of the gladioli to continue doing what I had planned for them. Because, yeah, that was just the first aspect of, like, I'm actually quite upset about that, because not just because of the plants that were taken, or the flowers that were taken. I mean, I had a whole thing set up. It was not even finished with the first section of stuff that I had planned. And so, you know, in a fit of rage and fury, I just, nope. Because you messed up. No, I'm a perfectionist. That is the thing. And so, yeah, the whole neighborhood missed out on that because of that individual who decided to be selfish and cut that section out. Yeah. Those flowers were going to do so many other things for the entire summer. I mean, it wasn't even, like, I got them to bloom in spring. Not only did I get them to bloom in San Antonio, I got them to bloom in spring, okay? It was like April or whatever. I had a whole thing planned out for all those different flowers. And because somebody decided to steal that large of a section, you know who you are, the entire cul-de-sac and anybody driving by and going to the mailbox did not get to see the rest of what I had planned. And you most likely destroyed your marriage by doing that. See why you shouldn't steal? That's one example among a few. So, you know, I'm still, I will admit I am bitter about that one. I am bitter about my plants. I'm extremely bitter about my plants being stolen. Yeah. I had so many things planned. The flowers were going to go all the way until Christmas. Yeah. Instead, less than a week after that, all of them gone. Because of that. Because I was pissed off. Yeah, those were my babies. Those were my flower babies. I doubt there are many gardeners who don't understand that. You know, you don't mess with them. Yeah. Can't put them back now, can you? No, you can't. You got what you got. And so, you know. Just saying. Got a whole thing planned. Literally could have asked and I would have picked certain ones out and it would have been so much better. But instead, my water fountain. That was in the front yard. Yeah. Yeah. You know who you are. You know what you dealt with since then now, don't you? Yeah. And since that happened, as far as the fountain, that was, 2003, so it was after my biological sister and her little temper tantrum because of me defending my son, my daughter, my house, my property, my neighborhood, all that sort of stuff. I don't take kindly to little childish shenanigans. Just saying, if that little boy had an issue, because I defended not just that, but my neighborhood, could have just said something to my face. Could have gone to the police, although I'm sure that the police probably would have said, well, you lit hairspray on fire, and she had the right to, so if your little temper tantrum was because you did that, well, that's a you problem. Just saying. It's fine, it's fine. And so, yeah, there's this little set of signs that I've noticed don't cross the double white line. It is befitting. It is quite befitting. When you think about it, it is. So, yeah, but I can do all that sort of stuff when it comes to like the plants and the gardening and stones and stuff like that, and yeah. So I'm really in a mood now because of thinking about all things. And I mean, I would like to hear a justification attempt as to what the claim would be on that for messing with my stuff and then clean. Anyway, so going back to, yeah, I have to stay focused. So in regards to Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., him taking those uniforms hypothetically and hiding the Gamma 3 hypothetically, so I couldn't give that to Tony Walker Nichols as planned. And, you know, I thought that because he could hunt in multiple states, that meant there wasn't a issue there. I didn't know, and like from the individuals that I had spoken with that have a large firearm collection, they had said, yeah, you know, like in regards to firearms and stuff like that, that's in the state of Texas, you know, you're not selling them, and so it's not the same. And it's like, okay, because I don't want to get in trouble for that, obviously. But as far as the uniforms go, yeah, no, I understand that I probably would have been questioned a really long time. However, it would be known that I didn't go and buy them, and it would be known that I didn't want them, you know, because not in any offense to whatever country they came from. It's just, I just didn't want to offend anybody. Like, not just the United States of America, but, you know, wherever they came from, sort of thing. And so if Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., had taken pictures in them, I know one was a blue and white striped t-shirt this way that was kind of like a tank top with like a little U-neck. And then there were some that were camouflage, but they were a different camouflage than like any BDU I've seen. And then there were some like, what was it? There was one that was like waist high, but they were like boots, something, and I think he said they were Gore-Tex. And I know that the Army has Gore-Tex in certain things, but it wasn't the pattern that I remember for like Army stuff. And so it was one of those like, if Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., stole those, then he most likely was arrogant enough to take pictures in that. And I've already, contacted law enforcement in regards to that. I obviously didn't give that to him. I didn't give him anything from my now dead ex-husband at all. And he was bitter about that, but that's not my problem either. That he wasn't entitled to anything at all. And so he felt that, but he wasn't. And so in that regard, I had the intention to do that, and he knew that, and he was upset by that. He had tried to talk me out of it, and I was like, no, like, that needs to be done to prevent certain issues. So ironically, so if hypothetically Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., got upset because of this book and or this book when I sent them to my biological family, and he was upset because his name, legal name, Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., is in there, well, by technicalities, he needs to speak with the news article person who wrote those news articles. Not like they probably didn't do a search in that regard. And so I don't know what uniforms or what country those uniforms were from, but I'm sure at this point there is a pattern of behavior. I guess pun intended, because of the patterns of the uniforms to, here FBI guys, here CIA guys, I'll just mail this to you. Here, House of Congress, please don't be mad at me. I'm doing everything I can only do so much. And so, not making light of that at all. Here, White House, here. Your Justice Department. Your House of Senate, your House of Congress, here. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I don't know what to do with that regard. So yeah, it's just one of those. I have made the attempts, and I have explained that to people before. Multiple. Like, for example, even Matrice Renee and Jason actually told them about the 151 thing, because I thought they might know who I could speak with to, like, get that taken care of. And they were like, oh, that's just funny. Like, don't even worry about that. That's just a funny story. And it's like, well, like, people. And, like, I couldn't figure that out. So, okay, fine. Well, if you think that's funny, I guess. I don't really think that there are people in the state of Texas who would find that funny, but okay. Just like, I don't find it funny. But if you think it's funny, okay, whatever. So, irony of ironies. And so, in that final aspect of that, if, like, Beatrice Renee and Jason, or whatever, thought that I was, like, trying to be her, I have a difficult enough time being me. Just saying. And I can only be me. And I have a hard enough time with that. Trying to be somebody else just seems so difficult. Not that I would succeed. There's a few tells that would make a difference on that. Not just the physical aspect, but then also like, well, I would never be able to like talk about my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. And if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, do you remember me? How do I not? Not that that's happened. I haven't actually had that. Like, I actually was surprised by that in certain regards when it came to Washington State. Because of how many people that I had known over the years that said they traveled to Washington State. And so I thought at some point in time our paths might cross. And then they'd like say something, but that didn't happen. And if our paths did cross, they didn't tell me. Which, I'm not even going to go into the offensiveness on that. So, but you shouldn't lie. There's that. Although I'll end on a funnier note. So I had a female at one point in time, went outside in the smoking section, come up to me, and she's like, you got, and you could tell she was on something, you got resting cut face. But like, you're so nice, I thought, you know, when you were in the club. And so if they only went off of the information in the short book, well, I did explain as far as my headaches and migraines from my Palm Sunday 2000 head injury, which probably just knocked her off. But yeah, she thought, I think like at least now in 2020, whenever that happened, in Seattle, I think it was 2016, she seemed to think that she was really like on that. And it's like, yeah, no, I have headaches and migraines, sorry about that. Like, because, you know, I was told by that point that, like, I was considered as an ambassador for the club, and it's like, oh, well, I was already, like, okay, sure, no problem. I'll just be me, and, like, you know. And so with that, it was one of those, well, let me explain that, please don't be offended, you know, sort of thing. And so, but if it was somebody who had read this, and then, you know, thought that that was a thing, it's one of those, yeah, the actual story behind that, as far as me being called a royal fucking cunt, which is a big difference than just a resting cunt face, that would be because of the whole military aspect of my now dead ex-husband and going up the chain of command, and the 2-star general in his office, after a couple of meetings, was upset because everything that I was bringing to him was realistic. And I knew he was upset. And not necessarily at me. I mean, partially. Like, he was probably partially upset with me for, like, being right. And him not knowing that that was going on for as long as it had been. And so, you know, because like, for example, one of the things he had said was, this isn't medical hold unit. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you call, you know, warrior transition unit, medical hold unit. It's the same basic aspect. And this sort of stuff was going on back in 2000. I'm bringing it to your awareness so that way you can genuinely make sure the soldiers are taken care of. And not just when they're in warrior transition unit, medical hold unit, you know, not just here, but throughout, also in the veteran status because of them needing to have that. And so, you know, in regards to some random female compared to a 2-star general in his office in uniform, on a military post. And I wasn't even offended. I really wasn't. I truthfully, I didn't laugh. I will say that. I did smile though. It's just one of those, well. But still knew that he was upset, and it wasn't to, like, having written about it, it wasn't to be offensive. Again, it's in the shorter book because of the understanding and comprehension that I have had, that my life has been what it's been. And so for those who would, read both, giving, especially when in regards to the bigger book of finding a silver lining, giving an ability to kind of have a break and read something that could possibly bring a smile. Whether it was in reference to how written, or apparently in regards to, like, Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr. Hey, that's justice. Like, certain things can't change. Like my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, that's not going to change. That is what it is. The damage that has been done, that is what it is. But if there is the ability for somebody to have read that and then and justice, gonna get some justice for that, then justice it is. And so, when I discussed that with Matrix Renee and Jason, that was at an event that Jason was drinking at, so, that is what it is. But they were still told. They were. And so, plus they were also told the background of how I wound up being involved with that particular individual, which they both thought was funny. And I was like, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand that at all, whatsoever. So, anyway, yeah, so I've changed a few things as far as, like, plants and stones and weather, and but I did not know that the tattoo thing on that regard. I didn't know that was a thing as far as I was concerned. So, no, this has been a little bit long, so you guys have a go on.